Someone you trust is manipulating you right now. They probably don't even realize they're doing it. Psychological manipulation isn't trench coats and shadowy figures. Most of the time it looks like your mother, your partner, your best friend, the person buying you flowers, the person crying on the phone. We're going to walk through 10 levels of psychological manipulation, ranked from the kind almost everyone uses without realizing, all the way up to techniques so destructive they've been classified as a form of torture by the United Nations. The last one rewires your brain. Most people who experience it never fully recover, and statistically, it's happening to someone you know right now. Let's start at the bottom. Level 1. The Chameleon Effect. In 1999, 2 researchers at New York University did something simple. They had strangers sit in a room and quietly copy each other's body language. Crossed legs, a scratched nose, a tilted head. The people being mirrored rated the strangers as more likable, more trustworthy, easier to talk to. They had no idea why. They just felt it. This is the chameleon effect, the unconscious instinct to copy people we want to bond with. Used innocently, it's how friendships form. Used deliberately, it's the entry-level move of every salesman, dating coach, and con artist on the planet. Mirror the posture, match the breathing, borrow the phrases. You won't notice it. That's the point. You'll just walk away thinking the person was unusually charming. Level 2, foot in the door. In 1966, 2 Stanford psychologists asked a group of suburban housewives to put a tiny safe driving sign in their window. Most agreed. 2 weeks later, the same women were asked to install a massive, ugly billboard on their front lawn. 76% said yes. A control group, asked cold, only agreed at 17%. This is the foot-in-the-door technique. Small commitments crack the door. Once you've said yes once, your brain quietly rewrites your self-image to match. You're now the kind of person who supports this cause, the kind who helps this person, the kind who agrees. Manipulators don't ask for the big thing first, they ask for the small thing, then the slightly bigger thing, then the unthinkable. By the time you notice the pattern, you're already 3 rooms deep in their house. Level 3. Guilt tripping. This is the first technique that actively hurts you, and it's almost always wielded by people who claim to love you. Guilt tripping turns your conscience into a leash. You forgot to call. You're being selfish. After everything I've done for you? The phrasing is endless. The function is the same. Make you uncomfortable enough that compliance feels like relief. Decades of research on emotional abuse in close relationships consistently finds guilt induction is one of the earliest warning signs. It's also the technique most victims defend because the manipulator wraps it in the language of caring. The cruel trick is this: good people are easier to guilt. The kinder you are, the more your conscience can be hijacked. Predators don't target the cynical. They target the empathetic. Level 4. Gaslighting. The term comes from a 1944 film where a husband slowly dims the gas lamps in the house and tells his wife she's imagining it. By the end, she believes she's losing her mind. Modern gaslighting works the same way. The manipulator denies things you both know happened. They rewrite conversations. They tell you you're remembering it wrong, you're being dramatic, you're too sensitive. Eventually, you stop trusting your own memory. You start checking with them to see if your version of reality is correct. That's the goal. Not to win the argument. To make you outsource your perception of reality to the person doing the manipulating. Once your reality runs through them, they own you, and you'll be the one apologizing for things they did. Level 5. Love bombing. This one feels incredible. That's the trap. In the early stages of a relationship, the manipulator floods you with affection, constant texts, lavish gifts, declarations of love within weeks. They mirror your interests so perfectly you feel like you've finally been understood. Cult researcher Margaret Singer documented this technique decades before dating apps existed. The scale changes. The mechanism doesn't. The flood creates dependency. Your brain releases massive amounts of dopamine, the same chemical involved in cocaine addiction. By the time the affection gets withdrawn, and it always gets withdrawn, you'll do almost anything to get the high back. The honeymoon phase isn't a phase. It's the bait. Level 6. Intermittent reinforcement. In the 1950s, behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner discovered something that should disturb you. If you reward a pigeon every time it pecks a button, it pecks at a steady pace. If you reward it sometimes randomly, unpredictably, the pigeon pecks obsessively, forever, long after the rewards stop entirely. This is the strongest behavioral conditioning known to science, and it's why people stay in toxic relationships. The manipulator alternates love bombing with cold withdrawal, affection, then silence, praise, then criticism. You can't predict which version of them you'll get, so your brain becomes addicted to chasing the good days. Slot machines use the same principle. So do cult leaders, abusive partners, and absent parents. The unpredictability isn't a flaw, it's the leash. Level 7. Isolation. By this level, the manipulator has stopped pretending. Now they're trimming your life. Your friends are toxic, your family doesn't understand you, your coworkers are jealous. Every relationship outside the manipulator becomes a problem they identify and slowly help you dismantle. The goal is total dependency. When you have no one else to check your reality against, the manipulator becomes your only reference point, your only emotional support, your only source of validation. Domestic abuse research consistently identifies isolation as the precursor to severe physical and psychological harm. It's the move that locks the cage before anyone touches you. The terrifying part is that isolation feels like love. Just you and them against the world. You won't realize you're alone until the door closes. Level 8. DARVO. Deny. Attack. Reverse victim and offender. When you finally confront a skilled manipulator, this is what happens. They deny the behavior, attack your character for bringing it up, and then position themselves as the real victim of your accusation. Psychologist Jennifer Freyd coined the acronym in the 1990s while studying patterns in abuse cases. She found it appears with disturbing consistency from interpersonal abuse all the way up to political and corporate scandals. The reason it works is that DARVO weaponizes social instinct. Most people back down when accused of being unfair. The manipulator banks on it. Within minutes, you're apologizing for confronting them about something they did to you. You walked in to hold them accountable. You walked out feeling guilty for trying. That's not an accident. That's the technique working perfectly. Level 9. Coercive Control. This is where psychological manipulation crosses into something the United Kingdom now classifies as a crime, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Coercive control is the systematic regulation of every aspect of a person's life. Finances, movement, clothing, friendships, sleep, food. The manipulator tracks your phone, monitors your spending, dictates who you can speak to, and punishes deviation with rage, silence, or both. Evan Stark, the sociologist who pioneered the research, called it a liberty crime. Not because it leaves bruises, but because it dismantles the self. Victims describe it not as a series of fights, but as living inside another person's mind. Every choice filtered through what they will allow. Every thought edited before it leaves your mouth. By this stage, the cage isn't around you. You've started building it yourself. Level 10. Thought reform. In 1961, psychiatrist Robert Lifton studied prisoners who had been through Chinese re-education camps. What he found changed how we understand the human mind. Given enough time, isolation, exhaustion, and controlled information, almost anyone can be convinced of almost anything, including that their previous identity was the wrong one, including that the manipulator is the only correct interpreter of reality, including that leaving is unthinkable. This is thought reform. Cults use it. Trafficking rings use it. Some marriages use it. The United Nations classifies prolonged psychological manipulation of this kind as a form of torture. Survivors describe it as having their soul rewritten. Many spend the rest of their lives trying to figure out which thoughts were ever theirs to begin with. The most chilling part isn't that it works on weak people, it works on everyone. Intelligence is no defense. Education is no defense. The only defense is recognizing it before the door closes behind you. Most manipulation doesn't end at level 10. It stops somewhere between 3 and 6, just deep enough to get what they want. shallow enough that the victim never quite realizes what happened. If any of this sounded familiar, that's not a coincidence. The techniques are everywhere. They're in your inbox, your group chats, your relationships, your governments. The only people who can't be manipulated are the ones who know exactly how it's done. Now you do.